kick things off with the tournament favourites then out. Brazil had looked so good up to this point. They never really got going against Croatia. Goalless after 90 minutes. We go into extra time. A brilliant individual goal from Neymar would see Chiche side take the lead, but Croatia, with their only shot on target, would find the back of the net to make it 1-1. It would go to penalties. Rodrigo and Marquinhos seeing their penalties miss. So it's Croatia who then advance to the semi-finals. For more on this, let's welcome in, shall we? Oh, Mario Malkiot. We'll talk about you, Mario, a little bit later on. Of course, disappointment for the Dutch. Oh, Gustavo Hoffmann is with us, our Brazilian expert. And Shaka's here as well. Before we hear from you guys, this wasn't supposed to happen. Brazil would look brilliant.
Yeah, it wasn't. They had, but this was a step up. You know, Lovren and Guardiola in particular have been... Particularly Guardiola been brilliant. The keeper continued his magnificent form. Full-back from Celtic on the right side, excellent. And of course that midfield three with Modric in there. So yeah, it wasn't supposed to happen, but they gained some control in the game. And Brazil, yeah, they huffed and puffed, and Livakovic made some great saves at the key point. But it wasn't a South Korea performance. It wasn't a Harlem Globetrotters. This is amazing. It was bits and pieces against a very, very good side. And yeah, I mean, on the balance of chances created, they looked more dangerous. But they didn't get the job done again.
No, and they didn't dominate completely. As Craig says, we saw some good saves. But Croatia had a lot of the ball as well. There wasn't that swashbuckling football that we've associated with them.
I think Brazil were surprised that Croatia were willing to press Brazil higher up the field as they did early on in the game. To the point to where, you just mentioned Juranovic, he became a critical part of the success of Croatia in that he was willing to run with the ball 40 yards, nobody making contact with him because Vini Jr. is not going to track back and there's no help coming out of the midfield and Neymar is not going to track back. And so this guy just continues to drive with the ball. And so now Croatia gets a little bit of confidence. Now they have possession of the ball in the attacking half. And while they're not as dangerous in the attacking half because they don't quite have the talent level that Brazil does in the final third, Croatia was there and felt comfortable in the manner in which they were playing. Brazil does Croatia a favor by slowing down the game. Yeah. And they did this time and time again. Well, if I were talking to Neymar right now and if we had a personal relationship, I would sit him down and say, Neymar, why are you standing on the ball? Repeatedly. Time and time again, why are you standing on the ball? In doing that, you're helping Croatia. You're allowing them to set behind the ball now, and now you're moving the ball side to side, and they're moving with you, so it becomes easier to defend. The strength of Brazil, when they get into the final third, is the quick movement of the ball and the quick movement of players. When you stand on it, you become predictable.
Gustavo, how are you?
Hello there. I'm fine.
Don't
Brazil is not
Don't
fine,
lie.
but
It's
I'm
all
fine.
right.
Thank you. Well, it's a huge disappointment for Brazil. A really huge disappointment, a big frustration for the Brazilian people because everybody in Brazil really thought that Brazil could win this World Cup, could win the World Cup for the first time after 20 years, after 2002. So it's a huge disappointment because Brazil was playing well. Brazil has a group of talents. Brazil also was playing well with so many tactics. And what we saw in the World Cup was a team very predictable. I absolutely agree with Alejandro when he says that Brazil was surprised by the way Croatia started the match, pressing high, fighting for the possession of the ball. Brazil didn't feel comfortable in the field in any moment. I think that this was the key for the key for Croatia in this match, because Brazil didn't feel comfortable, because Croatia was pressing high, because Croatia was with the ball. We have to talk about Luka Modric. What a player, what a genius he is. He knows how to manage a game like this. And we also have to talk about, in my opinion, the mistakes that Tite made today. I do not agree when you sack a player like Vinicius Junior in the 19th minute of a decisive match. Yes, Brazil had a problem to defend Juranovic, but you have many ways to correct that. You don't sack one of your protagonists, one of the best Brazilian players in the 19th minute in a match that you know that is hard. We can also talk about Neymar. Should have kicked the one penalty at least. You could have changed the order for Neymar. Well, in this whole World Cup, Brazil made some good matches, played very well against South Korea. Today, we didn't see the best Brazil. We have the stats, we have so many good stats, but I say that I watched, when I see these stats, the same movie that I watched in 2018, when Brazil lost to Belgium with brilliant stats, but didn't know how to finish the match.
Yeah, Gustavo's doing really well after that game, Dan, as you can quite clearly tell.
Yeah. He seems fine with it. Well, does he know that you back Brazil, Shaka? Really?
Oh, there it is. There it is.
You changed your mind. That was it.
Well, one of the differences between, if you look at France,
no, I haven't.
If you look at France, who play tomorrow, and we'll find out. And you look at the teams they've lost to: Croatia, who haven't won a World Cup; Belgium, who haven't won a World Cup; Brazil, on home territory, got crushed by Germany. It's not a good look. I mean, you can give me all the flair you want.
Yeah.
But you look at the difference was, we were talking about it just before we came on air, how Matty Cash was quoted as saying, I felt I had a really good game against Mbappe, but Mbappe was the difference. Juranovic, brilliant today, but Vinicius Junior, okay, we can argue about him coming off or staying on, but he certainly wasn't the difference, and that is ultimately what's got the French where they are, kind of, and what might take them further come tomorrow's game. Look, maybe this sort of Harlem Globetrotter performance they had against South Korea was not such a good thing.
It made them complacent?
Maybe they come out and thought, you know what, we're going to just do this again. Think Spain, think Costa Rica. Carried away. Oh, this is it. I mean, look at that. Spain, my God. They're going to just do that to everybody. No, think again. Some opposition are tougher. And I think South Korea, they were a better side than we saw, but they capitulated to this sort of free-flowing, sort of beach football, just off-the-cuff movement. And the plaudits that came with it were incredible. Come to Croatia, super organised, lots of experience, one of the best midfielders on the planet over the last 10 years in the middle of the park, great workmanlike, and a mentality that is just fight. Independence in 91, a population of less than 4 million compared to Brazil and others, and they could be in their second World Cup final in the space of 4 years. That's an amazing achievement.
With a 37-year-old at the heart of everything that's good.
And they keep churning this out.
Yeah. Now, you are absolutely correct. 100% correct, Craig. And yet Brazil were up 1-0.
Right.
See, for all the things that didn't happen for Brazil in this game, they were up 1-0 into the second half of extra time. So my question is, what in the world are they doing having people committed to the attack when you had a defensive posture to begin with in that second half of the extra time? How are 6 players out of the play in transition, and how does it become a 4v4 situation going in the opposite direction? My other question would be, why is Neymar on the field at that point? How is he helping you at that point? And you have Fabinho, whose job is to break up transition opportunities. You have Fabinho on the bench. And now, we're going to keep Neymar out there for what? He's giving you a slow jog. He's not going to help you defensively. If you're trying to see this game out, which was the posture of Brazil in the second half of the extra time, then you don't need him out there. He doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form. The other question I have many questions. Other question I have, you decide to bring out Militao.
Yes.
And you put Alexandro, who wasn't fully healthy, you put him on the left-hand side, and you bring Danilo over to the right-hand side. Danilo had been grabbing his leg because he was cramping. So if you tell me that Militao was hurting, so was Danilo. And if it comes down to a situation in which I want somebody to defend, I prefer Militao than Danilo. So there's so many decisions here that were made, or not made, as the case would be by Tite, that were more emotional than anything else, rather than evaluating what's in front of you. I don't care if you have controversy with Neymar because he gets mad if you bring him off the field. You deal with that after you've qualified to the next round, after you've won the game. Until then, Neymar, come off the field. I'm going to secure this win. We'll talk about this afterwards.
Well, I presume he never took him off because he was going to take a penalty.
Well,
lo and behold.
Yeah,
but the other side is Anthony gave the ball away, I believe, right, and they were pushing forward. And amongst other things, there was an arrogant naivety, and I think both those words are apt. There was a naivety and there was an arrogance at the end about how to keep the ball and how to see a game out. And one of the things I didn't like prior to Croatia scoring, and I didn't think they were going to score, but they did, was when Anthony chased back Perisic to the right-back position, did a great job, blocked the ball, it went out for a goal kick, and then he stood over the lying Perisic like he was a 16-year-old kid, like that. Perisic, to be fair to him, got up, didn't take the bait and ran off, and I just thought, do you know what? This game is not over yet, and here we have this guy who's already been showboating, who should have been booked for diving and wasn't, standing over one of the most experienced players in Europe as if he was the big cheese. I just left a bad taste.
Shaka, you were at the game, and obviously it was all down to what happened in extra time. Once Neymar scored, did you get a feeling from everyone, with regards to the players, the coaching staff, the fans, that the job was done?
Listen, before Neymar scored, I thought there was a nervousness in the stadium. It was a huge Brazilian majority, as I'm sure you could tell. But once that goal went in, that kind of nervous atmosphere lifted, and it felt like Brazil would just go on to win this because, let's be honest, Croatia did not threaten before that. But to the point that Craig just made about Anthony and Perisic, now, Anthony's a strange player for me. So in the first half, I was sat right behind where Rafinha was, and where Rafinha was playing on the right-hand side. I thought he was having a very good game. And then Anthony came on, and Anthony's a really odd player to see. I thought he had the beating of Sosa all day, every day. But every time he got goal side of Sosa, he does not put himself between defender and ball. He runs, and as soon as anybody catches up with him, and he's not as quick as I thought, he has to do this kind of loop and take the defender on head on. And more times than not, he was beaten Sosa yet again. But what started happening was Perisic would come over, and Perisic started playing bodyguard to Sosa and was very physical with him. And a couple of times, two of them had little head-to-heads off the ball that I thought was really telling. And maybe that's why when Anthony got the ball off of Perisic, he kind of stood over him because two of them were having that. But that's not a battle that Anthony could ever win. That's what Perisic was playing perfectly into what was needed of him in defending his right back. There are so many other questions about underperformers for Brazil as well. Rodrigo made absolutely no sense to me. I honestly don't know what his purpose was on the park. Coming in for Vinicius Jr., he offered nothing. And then Neymar was a very frustrating character. Goal apart, I thought at times he drifted out of the game, and I put that down to Brozovic, who I thought kind of sat in that half space between the centre halves and the midfielders wonderfully well. Never really man-marked Neymar, but just somehow filled that space. And in the end, Neymar could only get on the ball in dropping deep. So I thought while Brazil dominated, despite what the stats say, it felt like Brazil dominated the ball. I thought Croatia had a plan for everything that Brazil had to offer. And in the end, that got them at least the penalty kicks and through to the next round.
Well, he skirted the second yellow a few times, didn't he?
Yes,
but then again, I think you look at the other side of it, and Danilo had a second yellow challenge, a rash challenge. We had the dive. It wasn't punished by Anthony. And then actually we had a bit of a petulant kick out from Neymar on a couple of occasions, and I think maybe that was part of the frustration as well.
Gustavo, looking at it, obviously we thought we saw the moment from Neymar, didn't we? We thought this was it. Yeah, this was his World Cup moment to see Brazil through to the semi-finals. Croatia then obviously equalised. He's clearly going to take the fifth penalty. But once Rodrigo misses his penalty, surely there has to be a discussion. There has to be someone who says, right, we need our best penalty takers now, because we could be in a situation which we did end up with, that Neymar didn't take a pen.
Yeah, I was talking to Shaka right before the show, exactly this. When Rodrigo loses the penalty, you have to change the order. You must have Neymar in the shootout. You can't leave him for the 5th penalty. You should have changed it. This is one of the main mistakes that Tite made today, and we are talking about that in Brazil. In Brazil now, people are talking about these mistakes. The decision to sack Vinicius, the decision to let Neymar for the 50th penalty. There are many things today. I think that Tite today didn't have the answers for the Croatian moves. When we talk about the match, we are talking about Zlatko Dalic, who made some tactical moves, some tactical changes, and Brazil didn't have the right answers. Brazil couldn't answer what Croatia made for today. We saw Luka Modric moving around, moving behind the defenders, looking for the ball, also marking a lot Casemiro when Brazil had the ball in the defense and was leaving to the attack. You know, Brazil, I think that it was too predictable for Croatia. And Zlatko Dalic knew exactly how Brazil would play and taught the match with that.
I thought Croatia had a plan for everything that Brazil had to offer. But to that point about the penalty kicks that Gustavo was speaking about there, even if once Rodrigo misses and you decide to change, you can change the order at any time you like. But you get down to your 4th kick, you still need your 4th kicker, your 5th kicker, whoever that may be, to score, and you need Alisson to make a save. So what are you saving Neymar for? You need to at least give Alisson that opportunity to make the save. And in the end, you put Marquinhos, and you still needed Alisson to make that save, and you deny him even that opportunity. I mean, it's a big ask, but at least you force Croatia to take that 5th kick. You force whoever it is about to step up with all that pressure on their shoulders against one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And that doesn't happen. And for a reason that I can't explain. Now, I never get into discussions around penalty orders. I think it really is an inexact science. You saw, and I know we'll talk about the Argentina game, Lionel Messi going first. For Croatia, you saw Luka Modric going 3rd. So often we see national teams save their best kicker for last. But this is a different situation.
Yes.
This is one that you have to force Croatia to take that telling 5th kick, and you don't. You leave it as a centre-back to take that 4th kick. It really is hard to explain.
Well, it's as simple as a bit of paper, isn't it? Because in a bit of paper, before the law changed, it was written down, and so you're guessing about your penalty takers. Right, I'll send a really good one first, and I'll have somebody bringing up the rear end, just in case, you know, where the pressure is. You haven't got that excuse now.
No.
You can just evolve it as it's going along, which we didn't see Luis Enrique do. And we certainly haven't seen and didn't see the Brazilian coach do it.
And it's strange because, you know, Neymar, one of the leaders, grab the ball and take it down there. You don't need somebody to give you permission, do you?
If indeed you are the leader, then we think you are within this national team. And if indeed in that moment you are needed, you can make those decisions. See, while the manager can be and should be criticized, he's not absolved from this criticism. The players are out there as well. And you know full well that if we don't score here, we gone. So am I going to leave it on the center back, on Marquinhos to do it, or am I going to take that responsibility? It should be me if I'm Neymar. It's nobody else who's going to take this penalty. It's going to be me, and then we'll see what happens after that. So yes, it's on Tite. Of course it is. But it's also on the players. And that's a part that I think beyond the penalty kick shootout, because it's easy to focus on the penalty kick shootout. The penalty kick shootout doesn't happen if Brazil defend properly and don't have 7 players out of position in a counterattack with 3 minutes to go in the second half of extra time. That's irresponsible for players of this caliber, of this experience. You just sit behind the ball. Fred, why are you on the wrong side of the ball? You were brought in to sit in front of the back 4 and make sure that you defend properly. Why are you on the other side of the ball? There is no excuse for that. There's no excuse for Casemiro to be trailing the play. No excuse for it to be 4v3 going in the wrong direction. That is something that, while Tite will take criticism, the players themselves, what kind of decision-making is this and mismanagement on the field by those players with that sort of experience, with that sort of quality, unable to see a game out?
I think in some sense Brazil were a little bit lucky. Not lucky. Lucky in a way that Croatia, you could argue they're a really good Mandzukic away from being a real threat. You know, they lack somebody in that department. A lot of the other departments of the team are really, really good. And Brazil really didn't have to cope with, you know, anything of any real threat right through the middle until the end. So, yeah, I mean, it just, when you look at them losing Copa America, as they did, albeit during the pandemic or during that time, and now going out again, and I repeat it, you know, Croatia are a good side, but they haven't won a World Cup. It's not like Brazil going out to France and you go, right, OK, give it our best shot. Last 2 World Cups in a row.
Mario, I'm sorry, the Dutch get knocked out and you've got to listen to us waffle on for 20 minutes.
No, but look, some of the things you guys explained to me, I agree on, but listen, I'll let the guys jump on it. You know, so take their time. But some of the things, I am happy that Saka called, Brozovic, because he was the man on the game. I know everybody looked at Modric, how great he played, but Brozovic, he closed all the lines to the balls to Neymar, and he started dropping off so far back that it killed the Brazilian game. And I was so happy he said that, you know, like, oh, man, he was the key man in the middle of the park. That's all I had to say, because he really changed the game for them.
Right.
Right, and relax. And relax a moment.
I mean...
Oh, man. What next then, Gustavo? Chiche's obviously leaving. We knew he was going to leave at the end of this tournament. What next is Brazil's side? Neymar says that he may not play in another World Cup.
Yeah, before this World Cup, Neymar had already said that maybe he wouldn't. Actually, he said that this would be his last World Cup. I don't think so. I really don't think so. After the match day, he also said that he doesn't know if he's going to play for Brazil again. Probably because he lost the match. He was with the head like thinking so many things. But for sure he's going to play again for Brazil. About the next World Cup, I don't know, but I think that he's also going to be in the next Brazil squad in the World Cup. About Tite leaves, he departs now. Everybody knew already that. Tite had already said for more than a year that he would leave after this World Cup, winning or losing. So this is a fact, and everybody knew that it would happen. Who's going to be the next manager for Brazil? We have no idea. We have no names. And we don't have a Brazilian manager capable now to be the next manager. So this is a problem because Brazil never had a foreign manager. And if we look to the Brazilian football, we had, in these last years, we have so many Portuguese managers that have achieved so many things in Brazil. We have Abel Ferreira with Palmeiras, 2 times Libertadores champions. We have Jorge Jesus, who's now in Fenerbahce in Turkey, who won the Libertadores also with Flamengo. So I think that we're going to have so many things happening in Brazil in the next weeks or months, I don't know. And actually now we have no name for the Brazilian spot now to be the next Brazilian manager. But I think that we're going to have so many people talking about a foreign manager.
I have the perfect solution for you, Gustavo.
Shaka Hislop.
Stevie Nicol. He's available. And he's fluent in Portuguese, I understand.
What? Yes.
Just the man.
Fluent in something.